months, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Paige Bueckers is a draw. Me personally, I think she's a star, but I'm not exactly convinced that she is a draw.
Have you ever questioned why, despite the data, the media is promoting Paige Bueckers over Caitlin Clark? Bueckers' draft night audience was just half as large as Clark's, with 1.3 million viewers compared to 2.6 million last year. The mainstream story is undermined by that striking disparity. The credentials of both players are impressive. Despite Bueckers' dominance and Clark's scoring records, these viewership numbers indicate something important that lies beyond the surface.
But she ain't on Caitlin Clark's level in terms of excitement or accomplishment. And I know they just won a national championship, but she played with two players that are either just as good, and Sarah Strong's probably better than her or will be better than her.
I will explain the real meaning of these ratings, the reasons behind the stark disparity between public interest and media narratives, and how we may dissect these figures to uncover the underlying market dynamics.
There are a lot of stars. There are very, very few draws.
Paige Bueckers and her girlfriend went out for this week's highly anticipated WNBA draft, and let's just say the hour even was a spectacle.
This is probably the most horrible ran draft I've seen in sports history. Like, this was just terrible. The WNBA did a horrible job with this. From one, the marketing was terrible all the way up until the draft itself. It was just bad.
And the data is in, and it presents an intriguing tale that the conventional sports media is unwilling to discuss. There is a stark fact being ignored when everyone celebrates Paige Bueckers' 1.3 million viewers, as though it represents some sort of victory for women's basketball.
Now, that number, it can be credited 100% to Paige Bueckers because every other player involved was completely unknown.
When you contrast that 1.3 million with the number of viewers Caitlin Clark attracted the previous year, it may seem amazing. An incredible 2.6 million people watched. People, that's twice the audience.
Last year, 2.45 million, peaked with 3.09 million, up 307% from the previous high back in 2004. You guys might be asking, what was the ratings back in 2004? A very curious bunch. I appreciate it. We all want to stay informed, me as well. 601,000 from 2004.
This 50% decline in viewing is a glaring indication of who genuinely sparks interest in women's basketball. The WNBA and ESPN have been putting a lot of effort into promoting the idea that the Bueckers are the league's new face, but the statistics don't support this. It would be similar to booking two games, with Clark playing the first and the Bueckers the second, and then having half of the audience depart after Clark's performance. A reporter clumsily mispronounced a player's name during an interview during the draft broadcast, which was indicative of the lack of enthusiasm for this draft class in comparison to last year's Clark-dominated event.
I'm here with Anissa and Rakia, and we are holding it down right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
It's okay.
Sorry. What?
Go ahead, say your name.
Cheyenne Zellers. I'm so sorry. That is embarrassing. Cheyenne, I apologize.
Even Tim Wilson, a seasoned broadcaster, made a comment off-air. I've never seen such a stark difference in energy from one draft to the next. This ratings drop should set off alarm bells throughout the WNBA front office. Given all of the momentum Caitlin Clark created last season, breaking attendance records, packing arenas, and sparking public interest, the issue is whether we're seeing that momentum wane without her taking center stage.
Why was last year's draft such a big deal? Well, Caitlin Clark was getting drafted. Reason number one, Caitlin Clark getting drafted. Reason number two, why it was such a big deal. Well, Caitlin Clark was going number one overall. And the third reason why, calling a spade here, these three women, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink. Perfect storm.
These figures are significant beyond popularity competitions. TV ratings for professional sports have a direct correlation with actual value, establishing advertising rates that impact sponsorship agreements, which in turn affect team valuations and, eventually, player compensation. The league may lose millions of dollars in revenue opportunities if viewership drops by 50%.
Go. It's down 49%. 49% of the audience said, yeah, I'll go watch paint dry instead. In fact, some people, Jason Whitlock, he didn't even realize the WNBA draft took place the other night. He found that out the next morning, that Paige Bueckers and the WNBA draft had actually taken place.
The amount of work that the league and ESPN put into promoting Bueckers is what makes this scenario so shocking. She was positioned as the biggest celebrity in women's basketball for weeks prior to the selection thanks to feature articles, incessant commentary, and profile pieces. But even with the media machine operating at full capacity, viewers didn't react with the same fervor they did for Clark.
They've been on a campaign for the last 3 years to argue that Paige Bueckers, the UConn star, is actually better than Caitlin Clark.
The response to these evaluations on social media has been instructive. Fans realized right once what these figures meant. Verified proof that Caitlin Clark continues to be the biggest attraction in women's basketball unquestionably. The viewership statistics shows who truly captivates the public's attention. The WNBA's plan is seriously called into question by this significant ratings discrepancy. Can they maintain Clark's momentum when she isn't the main focus? If viewership keeps declining, will the money made from last year's Clark-driven interest be lost? The league's misinterpretation of what its audience truly desires is likely the most significant factor. These ratings show that Clark is already the face of women's basketball, and by a significant margin, despite all the hoopla about Buer being the future face.
Whether or not Paige Bueckers is a star or a draw, that remains to be seen. Judging by the ratings for the Dump Diver draft the other night, Paige Bueckers is not a mainstream draw yet.
There is one question that is consistently ignored while comparing these two stars. Which is more remarkable? Capturing just one title or erasing the NCAA record books entirely? The unparalleled statistical dominance of Clark has been clouded by the media attention around Buer's triumph. She did things that no basketball player had ever done before, erasing marks that had stood for 50 years.
Caitlin Clark now has 3,528 points in her career. She has officially broken Kelsey Plum's record from 2017.
Yes, Paige Bueckers is the proud owner of that gleaming championship trophy and deserves all the glory for helping UConn win. But Caitlin Clark broke a 50-year-old record to become the all-time NCAA scoring leader, marking a significant milestone unmatched in 5 decades of collegiate basketball. This is only the start of Clark's statistical domination. Almost no other player in NCAA history has ever led the country in both scoring and assists in the same season more than Clark did. Being both the best scorer and the finest playmaker at the same time is basketball's ultimate paradox. It's the basketball equivalent of fusing Magic Johnson's playmaking vision with Michael Jordan's scoring prowess.
I've seen Paige Bueckers across social media for the last 5 years, it feels like. She's an elite female college basketball player. Had some knee injuries that she's rebounded from, but she's healthy right now. So she kind of sits behind Caitlin Clark. And I think that makes her a fade for me because I think the Caitlin Clark shadow is real. I think Caitlin Clark is so dominant in changing the game.
The numbers from their final season reveal a startling tale. Each game, Clark scored 31.6 points, dished out 8.9 assists, and pulled down 7.4 rebounds. We're getting close to triple-double territory. Despite their great performance, Bueckers received 21.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. The disparity is shown. Clark more than doubled Buer's assist output, grabbed more rebounds, and averaged almost 10 more points per game. When the media emphasizes Bueckers' championship banner while downplaying Clark's statistical revolution, it fundamentally alters the way these players are viewed. While Clark's record-breaking career burns like a persistent fire that completely changed the face of women's basketball, Bueckers' title stands as a dazzling moment of achievement.
noticed that the media has been overwhelmingly positive in their coverage of Paige Bueckers.
Clark created previously unheard of mainstream coverage for women's basketball by transforming regular season games into primetime spectacles that filled venues. Her influence went beyond the numbers. In real time, she changed the sport's popularity and prominence. This comparison is especially remarkable because Clark accomplished these things in spite of defenses put in place to prevent her. Despite being aware that Clark was gaining the ball, her opponents were unable to stop her attacking genius.
You see, the media is fine with Paige being the face of the WNBA because she's already proven to be a loyal comrade. They can depend on her, maybe even control her. They can't do that with Caitlin Clark, either because she is unwilling or she's realized that she does not need the media to be a mainstream draw. I think this WNBA season is going to be dominated by this media-created rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers.
However, let's face it, the narrative gap is particularly noticeable when contrasted with how comparable accomplishments are praised in other settings. For weeks, LeBron James's scoring record-breaking performance overtook Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's dominating sports headlines. Clark frequently received supplemental treatment for his NCAA scoring record. Amazing, yet she hasn't won a title. Both athletes are exceptionally talented. Under extreme pressure, Bueckers produced a championship medal. Nonetheless, Clark's unparalleled statistical accomplishments and revolutionary influence on women's basketball merit equal respect rather than being undercut by the title. Cynical media attention.
I think the media is creating this rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, hoping that Paige Bueckers will become the new face of the WNBA.
It's not only disheartening to see the glaring disparity between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers in the media. It's starting to seem like a component of a bigger plan. Have you noticed the significant change from last year's WNBA draft presentation to this year's? There has been a significant shift in the league's positioning, from the interview questions to the wardrobe choices, and many fans are drawing some quite alarming connections. It was impossible to overlook the draft's visual metamorphosis. It seems as though the league is ushering in a new era with this year's varied, surprising trends, which stand in stark contrast to last year's flawless red carpet elegance, with exquisite dresses and glamorous styling. This change was so noticeable that enthusiasts swarmed social media right away. Do we watch the same league as we did the previous year? While one popular tweet raised questions, another pointed out that the WNBA is making a clear statement about its goals.
Here, I don't know if you remember how feminine the WNBA draft was. Ladies all dressed up nice and feminine. Clearly, with Paige Bueckers at the top of the draft, they went a different route. She dressed as a little man. Good luck to her.
This design shift reflects a thoughtful choice regarding the WNBA's reputation. Following Clark's introduction of women's basketball to millions of new viewers, the league seems to be carefully selecting which audience segments to focus on. Is the league actively moving away from the mainstream appeal Clark created? Is a question that many fans have. The way that Bueckers' status as a member of the LGBTQ+ community is handled by the media emphasizes this tactical change. Bueckers is deserving of praise and encouragement for being so forthright about who she is. The problem is that media sources appear to be exploiting this element to create a fabricated contrast with Clark, portraying Bueckers as the player the league genuinely desires to represent its future.
There's been a lot of speculation this week as to why Paige Bueckers was instantly embraced by the WNBA. Some are claiming that she was accepted because she identifies with the first letter in the identifier alphabet, L.
Each player receives radically different coverage as a result of this deliberate effort. Clark is often questioned about everything, including her defensive prowess and her on-field facial expressions. Clark's race has been criticized by certain media sites, but Bueckers has received overwhelmingly positive coverage in the media, regardless of the situation. Fans are speaking out more and more about this apparent bias because the discrepancy is now so blatant.
I think that's why so many WNBA players are going to greet Paige Bueckers with open arms, even though she's white. It's because she seems to be on the same sexual team as everyone else in the WNBA.
Instead of letting these exceptional players naturally create their competitive narrative on the court, it seems like we are witnessing a manufactured rivalry. The media appears intent on elevating one athlete while downplaying the other, rather than praising both for their distinct talents. This strategy runs the danger of offending the new generation of supporters Clark drew in. How would you feel if the media continuously minimized Clark's historic exploits if you had started watching because of them? If this keeps up, the sharp drop in ratings that we've already seen could get worse.
The media will continue demonizing Caitlin Clark while praising her rival. And they're hoping that people will instantly follow Paige Bueckers because she also lacks melanin.
The most annoying thing is that there is absolutely no need for this made-up story. Together, Clark and Bueckers' extraordinary skills have the potential to take women's basketball to new heights. An organic competition fueled by their divergent styles might pique interest for years. If only the press would let their performance on the court do the talking.